What's going on, guys? Eric here and welcome to the channel. In this video I'll show you how to use vinyl wrap to add colorful accents to your doors. I'll go over the tools and supplies you need for the project. I'll do a walkthrough tutorial of how I applied the vinyl to the doors. And at the end of the video I'll talk about how much it might cost you in terms of time and material so you can do a project like this on your own. So let's get started with an overview of the tools and supplies you'll want to have on hand for this project. Going over the tools and supplies that you want to have on hand, I have just my toolkit, which holds all of my tools in it. As you can see, I have things like a tape measure and extra knives and grease pencils and the like. It's just handy to have on hand for carrying your tools around with you. And the tools that you'll want to actually use mostly for this project will be a squeegee. In this I have a felt buffer and then some Teflon tape on either side. And then here is a micro squeegee. And that's good for tucking in into tight areas and dividing cut lines. You'll want a knife. This is just a basics utility knife with snap-off 30-degree blades. And then of course you'll want to have your vinyl wrap. In this case I'm just using this Gloss Blue by Vivid. It's their Ultra Gloss series in the Premium Plus Ultra Gloss, and it's their Glossy Smurf Blue. So with that, let's go ahead and get started on the walkthrough portion of the tutorial. Be sure to start with a piece big enough to cover each panel. You can see here that I have a piece already cut out big enough to fit the panel on the right. What I'm taking here is my back slitter blade and cutting in between the vinyl and the backing paper, basically creating a hinge. If you don't have one of these, that's fine. You don't necessarily have to do that, but you can see how I split just the backing paper from the vinyl, and what that does is I can now align the panel as best as I can. And then I can peel just the part of the vinyl that I peeled away or cut the backing paper from, basically that top, I don't know, maybe quarter there, and that way I can not have to peel the whole thing. Again, if you don't have a backing slitter knife, you don't have to do that. You can see how I just peeled off that top quarter piece, and that gives me just enough to anchor it down and help me position this a little bit better without having the whole piece of vinyl peeled off and, say it's grabbing at the bottom and preventing me from aligning the top part there a little bit better. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just aligning this a little bit better than I had it initially. And once I think I have it where I want it to be, I'm going to go ahead and squeegee down a little bit, not too hard, because I want to be able to pull this up if I need to. So you can see how having just that small hinge there is a little bit beneficial in terms of not having too much peeled out, so that you can do a quick and better alignment. What I'm doing right now is what I should have done earlier. I had a piece that was too big. In this case, have a little bit of excess, but not too much excess. And so what I'm doing is trimming off all that extra vinyl that I don't need at the moment for this particular piece. And so now that I have all the excess cut away and taken off, you can see that I'm just picking up my vinyl and pulling the rest of the lining so that I can free up the vinyl for application. And once I've done that, I'm just going to align the vinyl along the right side of the door panel insert, as you can see me doing at this moment. I'm going to zoom out here in just a second. And I did anchor that top piece, but not too hard in case I needed to pull this up. And so just continue to align this how you want to align it. I'm trying to get it right into the edge there, and you can see I'm giving it a little bit of downward tension to keep things a little bit taut, and it is creating kind of a horizontal, or in this case a vertical wrinkle, which is fine, because then if I pull to the left afterwards, it'll flatten and straighten right out. And so you can see that I've gotten my right side aligned into the edge that I want, and I'm going to lock down that right side. And you can see now I'm just going to squeegee up and down the vinyl panel. If I do have an air bubble, since this has air release, you can see that I'm just pushing and squeegeeing it through and maneuvering that air out and through. Take your time when you're doing that. If you do have a trapped bubble, it will press out, since this is automotive air release vinyl. So the air will go out. You just have to take your time and be careful so you don't squish the vinyl and make that bubble into a wrinkle. So get your vinyl applied on the flats all the way down, all the way into the edges. You can see I took the hard edge of my squeegee and I was pushing it into the edges to make a good defined line on the sides and the bottom in this case. And I just used the top edge and the right edge on the factory cut edge as my alignment there, so I don't have to trim anything out on those parts. So moving up close, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel off the protective plastic cap that this vinyl has. Not all vinyls have this. This one does in particular because it has an ultra gloss shine, and so they put this protective cap on there that you can use that protects the vinyl, but you can also still apply for the most part with it. I'm going to take my micro squeegee, and you can see I'm lifting the vinyl back from the edge just a little bit and using my micro squeegee to tuck things in a little bit more tightly to make a really good, really sharp defined cut line. And once I have that, you can see that I'm going to use my micro squeegee to push the tip of my blade up against the side of the panel inset there. And I'm just going to do that process all the way down the panel. And so you can see I'm taking my time doing that process, just going down. Now, I don't want to push too hard into the door with my knife because I don't want to cut the door and the paint, but I do want to give it just enough pressure to score the vinyl so that when I do pull the vinyl, it cuts and pulls away nice and cleanly without any tears or excess parts that haven't cut away through. Then you'd have to double cut in that particular area. So take your time with this. If you need to practice a couple times first, I would recommend doing that. If you're comfortable with the knife, then just go ahead and go for it. So you can see I'm just going all the way down the height of the left side of the vinyl, trimming that out. And once I get to the bottom corner, I'm just going to cut out and away and then peel off my excess. And you can see I'm doing it a little bit slowly because I want to make sure that if I didn't cut away through, I don't pull it too hard or too fast and then rip off any vinyl that I do want to leave on there. So get rid of your excess and then do the same thing for the bottom. Again, I'm just using my micro squeegee to draw the line first to make it really tucked in nice and tight. Then I'm going to put my blade in between my micro squeegee and the side edge of the panel inset and use my micro squeegee essentially to hold that blade tip. And that's all I'm using, the very tip of the blade, to cut into the vinyl, mostly just to score, not really even cut it, so that I can then peel away the excess vinyl. So once I've done that, you can see me peeling it away. Now take your squeegee and go over the whole panel again, making sure that everything is tucked in and laid down nicely. You can see I'm going over each of the edges on the sides I didn't cut, as well as the sides I did cut, and I'm squeegeeing on the flat parts to make sure that no air bubbles are trapped or caught. And so you can see this panel inset, for all intents and purposes, is fully wrapped, and the color accent for this panel is now done. So taking a closer look at this, you can see that the edges are nice and clean. Right side and top are a factory edge, left side and bottom were the edges that I cut, and that the panel is nice and smooth and flat all the way up and down. For the remaining panels, just do the same thing as you did with the first one, where you cut out pieces big enough with a little bit of excess, and then just apply it as I showed in the first part of the tutorial, and you should be able to get the remaining panels done quickly and easily. So now that I've shown you how to wrap the inset panels of your doors to add a really cool, colorful accent, let's talk a little bit about how much this project might cost you in terms of time and material. In terms of material costs, it's going to depend on which vinyl you elect to use. In this case, I used Vivid's Ultra Gloss Smurf Blue, and I'll have links in the description below if you want to get some of this vinyl. And so that particular vinyl runs about, depends on where you get it, about $9 to $11 for a 1 foot by 5 foot roll. I ended up using about a 2 foot by 5 foot piece to make sure I had enough to cover each of my 3 panels, plus a little bit of excess to make sure that I could fit everything in properly if I had a little bit of error. And so again, links in the description, but on average I'd say it'll probably cost around $20-ish US dollars in materials to do a simple and quick project like this. In terms of time, this is a really quick and easy project. I think on average, it probably took me less than 5 minutes per each of the panels, times 3 panels, so about 15 minutes or so of actual install time, to include cutting the pieces to size to make sure that they fit, trimming, and laying down the vinyl. So really quick, depends on your level of skill, but I would say easily you can get this done in about 15 to 30 minutes. Again, it depends on your door and what you're trying to accomplish. And my door was super simple, flat panels on the insets of each of the doors. There were only 3 panels, and each were very squarish or rectangular in this case. And I actually was able to use most of the times 2 sides of each of my pieces. So that reduced the amount of cutting that I had to do, usually about 2 sides per panel. On average, my guess would be about 15 to 30 minutes, again, depending on the door that you're working on and the complexity of the shapes that you're trying to wrap on your door. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope this video has been helpful and informative for you, maybe entertaining to some degree. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification button so you get notices whenever I post new content to the channel. I've got more videos in the works and on the ways that I'd love to share with you. Thanks again for watching and for all of your support. Have a great day.